Hey, Eagle fans, it's EaglefanKarl, and can you believe it, but the Eagles are headed to the Super Bowl. I am still pinching myself. It's been a week now since the NFC Championship game, and I still don't think I completely believe that the Eagles are actually going to be playing in the Super Bowl this year. If you had told me at the beginning of the season that the Eagles were going to play in the Super Bowl, I don't think I would have believed you. The first time I actually started to think that maybe they had a shot was probably that Thursday night game against Carolina when we went down there on the short week. Carolina was playing real well at the time, and the Eagles went down there and won that game. Especially then that following Sunday when Aaron Rodgers gets hurt. So that was the first time I really probably thought that they had a shot at getting to the Super Bowl. But then when Carson Wentz goes down with the injury, I'm like, well, okay, there goes that. And I still don't think I would have believed you at that point. Once the playoffs started playing out, I thought they had a shot in each game. Obviously, I picked them in both games, but there were definite matchups I didn't want to have to face. I didn't want the Eagles to have to go up against Drew Brees, which we got fortunate in not having to do that. But all in all, I think that the Eagles, the way they played this season, obviously went way beyond any of our expectations. Before the season, I had them picked 9-7, 10-6, probably win the division, get in the playoffs, maybe win a game, but certainly nothing like what we've had this year and the run that they've gone on. And at this point, I am just enjoying this moment. I'm giddy over it, and this is the way I'm looking at it. The Eagles now have made the Super Bowl 3 times. I've been alive to see all 3 of them, but the first time the Eagles made the Super Bowl, I was 8 years old, and I didn't really appreciate it for what it was. 1980 was really sort of the year I started getting into sports, and that was obviously a huge year for Philadelphia. I don't really remember the Flyers and Sixers runs, but I do distinctly remember the Phillies winning the World Series in 1980. And then, of course, the Eagles get to the NFC Championship game and beat Dallas. That's really the first football game I remember watching, was that NFC Championship game against the Cowboys. And, you know, it's one of those things as a kid, you're like, okay, well, this good stuff always happens. I think the final wake-up call for me as a kid watching sports was Super Bowl 15 and seeing them lose to the Raiders. That was sort of an eye-opening experience for me. I couldn't believe that my team would actually lose a game, at least an important game. So I think that was sort of a wake-up call for me. But still, you assume that you're going to have that kind of success all the time. Then, of course, you've got the long drought. Fast forward then to 2004 when the Eagles go to their second Super Bowl. And when the Eagles went to that Super Bowl, it was more relief than it was excitement, because you remember that was the 4th NFC Championship game in a row that we played in, losing the first 3. The first one, obviously, is one of those games that, no one expected them to beat the Rams in St. Louis. But the next 2 games, they were expected to win those games, and it was really frustrating as an Eagles fan watching those and seeing them lose those, so that by the time they get to the 4th one and they finally beat the Falcons, at that point, it was more relief. Certainly, there was some excitement. We were happy that they were going to the Super Bowl, but I don't think I was as happy about them going to that Super Bowl as I was this one, and that was because of just that sense of relief that they had finally gotten there in this one. This one came out of the blue. There was no one that expected we were going to go to the Super Bowl at the beginning of the season, and the fact that we're there, I think, makes it that much more exciting and that much more enjoyable. So I've been watching football since the 1980 season, and you fast forward then to now, that is 38 seasons of football that I have watched. And 38 seasons, the Eagles have, I look back at this, the Eagles have actually made the playoffs in 19 of those years. So that's half. That's actually a pretty good percentage for any team to be making the playoffs. It's better than average. And so it's been excitement. There's been excitement usually around the Eagles. There's been some downtimes within that, sure. But for the most part, the Eagles have been making the playoffs relatively regularly throughout the entire time that I've been watching this team. But even though they've had a lot of regular season success, they haven't really had the postseason success to go with it. Over that time, the Eagles are 16-18 in the postseason, and that's counting this year. So, really when you look at it, the Eagles have really sort of underperformed when it comes to actually, when they get to the postseason, what they do. So it's not every year that your team makes the Super Bowl, so I want to make this week a little bit more special, and my plan is I'm going to be releasing a video every day this week up till Friday Saturday, I'm going to be probably going up to Pennsylvania that day because I'm going to watch the Super Bowl up in Philadelphia with my cousins. So I'll be releasing a video every day this week to sort of, honor the fact that the Eagles are in the Super Bowl, and this is an extra special week that we don't get that often. So here's going to be my schedule for the next week as it relates to my videos. Obviously, today is just sort of a general reaction and excitement about the Eagles going to the Super Bowl. Monday, I'm going to be doing a sort of a last look back at the NFC Championship game and doing my studs and duds for the NFC Championship game. Tuesday, my plan is to sort of do like I did for the NFC Championship game. I'm going to do a video of interesting facts about the Super Bowl, the matchup that exists, not stuff that's necessarily going to play into my prediction, but just some stuff that I find interesting about the game. Wednesday and Thursday are going to be some basically a set of companion videos. Wednesday, I'm going to do reasons why the Eagles will lose the Super Bowl, and then Thursday, I'm going to do reasons the Eagles will win the Super Bowl. So we'll sort of look at the good and the bad of what could potentially happen in this Super Bowl and things to be looking for and matchups to be watching. And that's really where I'll start the breakdown of the actual game. And then Friday, I'll cap it off with my prediction video. So that's sort of my schedule for the week. Go ahead and check in below. Let me know what you think. Are you as excited as I am? Obviously, probably you are if you're an Eagles fan that the Eagles are going to be in the big game this year. Like I said, I'm going to be checking throughout the whole week and letting you know what I think as we're leading up to the Super Bowl. Until then, fly Eagles fly.